So I wanted to give my thoughts on a film that I've only recently got around to watching, Ready Player One, a sci-fi action-adventure film directed by Steven Spielberg that explores the concept of a society that has become enraptured in a virtual reality world, celebrates gaming and pop culture, and touches on ideas not unlike that of the singularity. Taking place in a future dystopia in 2045, the Earth has faced numerous environmental disasters, and because the real world is just too bleak and hopeless, people have largely retreated into a VR environment called Oasis, founded by the late James Halliday. The primary character is Wade Watts, who lives in Columbus, Ohio, in the Stacks, which is a region comprised of towers of trailer park type caravan homes. There are certainly story elements of this film that are somewhat reminiscent of The Matrix, Inception, Tron Legacy, and Avatar, but Ready Player One is truly a celebration of fandoms, iconic movies, and video games of the past. There's numerous homages and nods to the likes of The Iron Giant, Back to the Future, The Shining, Batman, Terminator 2, Firefly, and more. In the Oasis, users level up by earning coins as a form of virtual currency. If they're killed in the VR world, they will be zeroed out and lose everything, and considering virtual coin is the primary currency in this distant future, zeroing out has real-world consequences. A digital recording of Holiday announces a competition to find an Easter egg that will grant the winner control and ownership of Oasis, but they must first discover the location of 3 keys, which are unlocked in a series of challenges which require contestants to decipher clues related to Halliday's personal life. Wade, through his avatar Parzival, works with several of his online friends and a female player known as Artemis to compete with the rest of the Oasis users to complete the challenges and obtain the Easter egg. However, it's not that simple. The big bad of the movie is Nolan Sorrento, the CEO of Innovative Online Industries, a large tech company that seeks to gain control of the Oasis in order to monetize the hell out of it with advertising. They literally want to plaster the visual field of players in the Oasis with banner ads and pop-ups. Sound familiar? Sounds like the heavy-handed consumerization of the internet, which took place in the late 90s. In many ways, the struggle of Wade and his makeshift clan is a kind of analogy for the numerous online consumer backlashes against corporate monopolies, copyright legislation, and big Silicon Valley tech, which we've observed over the past decade. I'm not going to get into a fine-grained story breakdown of this film. Suffice to say, this is a half-animated, half-live-action film with insane amounts of impressive visual effects. Spielberg hasn't impressed me from a directing standpoint in many years, but with Ready Player One, he returns to what he does best, telling a fun family story that will engage children just as much as it will adults. Mind you, I think this is more of a PG-13 film in places. The main character of Wade Parzival makes for a serviceable protagonist, but he's lacking in any real depth, and as is becoming all too common in Hollywood these days, he's lacking any degree of masculine confidence. He falls in love with the digital avatar of Artemis all too easily in a very contrived manner, and she's introduced as a stoic, unfeeling, unlikable, overly assertive, badass tough chick, which is now the feminist Mary Sue archetype. But she does display some vulnerability later in the film when her real-world counterpart of Samantha is revealed to Wade. This was the first film I've seen since The Matrix that competently and thoughtfully explored the concept of simulated realities replacing the real world. Whereas The Matrix asked questions about what reality is exactly and sought to escape the control of the machine-run fantasy to embrace the real world no matter how bleak and dystopian it may be, Ready Player One does the opposite. It sees the citizens of this future Earth choosing of their own free will to enter the fantasy realm of Oasis in order to escape the harsh slag heap reality surrounding them. Given the massive breakthroughs in VR tech we've seen over the past 10 years, the rise in social media addiction, as well as the emergence of sophisticated VR chat and massively multiplayer online role-playing games, I'm beginning to wonder if the future depicted in Ready Player One is all that unrealistic. The film does briefly point out the negatives of overdependence on the Oasis and recommends disconnecting from time to time in order to experience the real world, a nice message we could all take on board. But it's not sufficiently explored in my view. I'm not sure what to make of the conflict that the protagonists find themselves in, to be honest. I kept making the connection with fighting for a free and open internet, but the Oasis is more than just the web. It's the web if the web was a billion different holodecks. For many people in 2045, Oasis is life itself, and no one seems all that interested in fighting to make reality a better place. Humanity seems to have given up on itself. Everyone seems obsessed with remaining plugged in at all times. There's no drive for society to better itself and save the planet. And so, for that reason, by the film's end, I began to view the Oasis as somewhat of a place of surrender. What makes the future somewhat more bleak in this film is not necessarily the massive amounts of slums everywhere, as depressing as they are, but the defeated mentality of the inhabitants who seem resigned to their fate and determined to live in denial and fantasy. Certainly, that notion might have been a more poignant theme to explore given where our society may be headed in the next few decades. The heroes of the story may be fighting the corporate control of Oasis, but they're also fighting to maintain the status quo and live inside a lie. Nevertheless, Ready Player One is still a good time and will entertain audiences regardless, especially if you appreciate pop culture references to movies, books, TV shows from the 70s and 80s. Thanks very much for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.